Good evening. I'm doing another Beatles review, and that review is of Abbey Road. So Abbey Road is I call it the 12th studio album, because obviously, if you count Magical Mystery Tour, which I do, and most people do these days, then this is their 12th studio album. If you don't count Magical Mystery Tour, then it's technically their 11th, but I've always counted Magical Mystery Tour, so yeah, this is their 12th studio album. This was released on the 26th of September 1969, and yeah, it's in a few weeks' time, so in a few weeks' time this album will be 53 years old. And this was the last album that the Beatles recorded as a band. It wasn't the last album they released, because obviously they released Let It Be less than a year later. But yeah, this was the last album they recorded. Now I'm reviewing Abbey Road first, even though it was recorded after Let It Be, but Let It Be was released afterwards. I didn't know which way round I was going to do it, so I did a poll on Twitter. So basically asking which shall I review first, Abbey Road first or Let It Be first? And Abbey Road got the most votes, so yeah, I'm doing Abbey Road first. Because yeah, usually I do like to do things in the order that they were released in. Because yeah, basically they weren't happy. They recorded Let It Be in like January 1969. But yeah, they weren't happy with it after they recorded it, so they shelved it. It got shelved for a whole year, and then they began working on Abbey Road. And it's because of the tensions going on between the band, they just abandoned the Abbey Road. And on this album, they were on better terms with each other. So I think that's why they probably should have released this last, and they should have probably released Let It Be first. But yeah, let's go through the track listing. So it starts off with Come Together, brilliant song. And yeah, to my knowledge, there's been a couple of cover versions. Michael Jackson did a version of this. Aerosmith did a version. Those two versions are also really good. I like them. But the Beatles version is obviously the best one. And yeah, this is a John Lennon song. It's just a great song. And apparently, John Lennon was sued for plagiarism on this song because one of the lyrics in this song was actually taken directly from the Chuck Berry song You Can't Catch Me. So Chuck Berry sued John Lennon. I wouldn't say he deliberately stole that lyric. I think he just, well, I can understand where Chuck was coming from, though. But John Lennon was a huge Chuck Berry fan, so I think he was more inspired rather than just stealing his lyrics. But yeah, Come Together is a great song, a great opening track. And track 2 is the beautiful George Harrison song, Something. Now, this is considered one of the greatest love songs of all time. I do agree. I think it's one of George's best songs. Got beautiful. I love that swirly effect that he uses on his guitar. I think he uses a Leslie speaker. He plays his guitar through a Leslie amplifier. And yeah, I love the organ and the string arrangements on here. Just beautiful. Very nice lyrics. So this is why I think George he always got overlooked as a songwriter in the Beatles. And yeah, that's why I could kind of understand why he got annoyed with John and Paul. Because there was a lot of songs he recorded for the Beatles that never got released on the albums. So some of those songs he ended up recording on his, like the song All Things Must Pass on on his first solo album, All Things Must Pass. That was actually recorded for the Beatles. It was recorded during the Let It Be sessions, I believe, or the White Album sessions. I'm not sure which, but yeah, it was one of those. And yeah, George wanted it to go on one of those albums, but yeah, apparently John and Paul didn't like it. But yeah, I've always loved George's songwriting. I think he deserves more respect. And yeah, there's been cover versions of this song. Like I think Ray Charles did a version of this, and his version's really good as well. Track 3 is the Paul McCartney song, Maxwell's Silver Hammer. This is a fun song. I love this song. It's just brilliant. It's very clever as well, because it seems like it's a fun, like, catchy pop song. You know, it's just one of Paul's piano songs. So yeah, it's a catchy, you know, cheerful song, but the lyrics are actually very dark. The lyrics are about this teenage boy going around murdering people with a hammer. But yeah, I love this song. It's just, you know, I think this song is more creative and more clever than people give it credit for. Some see it as just another granny song. No, it's more than that. It's like musically, it's just a fun, catchy tune. Lyrically, it's quite dark. But yeah, I love it. Track 4 is Oh Darling. This is another Paul McCartney song. This is a really, really nice song. So it starts off where Paul's singing his sort of soft voice, and then the song builds up a bit, and then he goes into his more like rough sounding voice. And yeah, the song sort of gets a bit heavier. But yeah, it's a nice song, nice lyrics. Some nice piano and yeah, some heavy guitar on here. But yeah, I love that song. Track 5 is Octopus's Garden. This is the Ringo song, and I've always considered this to be a sequel to Yellow Submarine. Like, it's got like similar sound effects used, like underwater effects, bubbles, and yeah, but it's just a great song. And unlike Yellow Submarine, which was written by John and Paul, this was actually written by Ringo. I think he was on a boat trip, and yeah, I think he ordered fish and chips while he was on a boat trip, and the fish that he was eating, I think he said the fish tasted like octopus. But yeah, it's a fun song. I prefer Yellow Submarine, but I still love this song. And this song is like, it's like Marmite, you know, you either love this song or you hate it. I love it. I love Marmite as well. And then track 6 is I Want You, She's So Heavy. This is another John Lennon song. And yeah, it's quite a heavy song as well. It's got some really heavy guitar and it's got nice bluesy keyboard as well. So it's like a hard rock blues song. And yeah, I just love that bit at the end when it, you know, that long guitar solo at the end, and it builds up and then it just stops abruptly. And when I first heard this, I was like, oh, what happened there? Of course, you know, now I know that it's supposed to end like that. That's how it was done. And then after that, we get the beautiful George song, Here Comes the Sun. Now, this is the album where George Harrison really does shine, because two songs of his that are considered the absolute best, they're on here. And yeah, I love Here Comes the Sun. It's a perfect summer song. And yeah, he wrote this while he was visiting his friend Eric Clapton. Yeah, he was in Eric Clapton's back garden, and it was during winter, but he saw some snow was melting, and then that gave him the idea to write Here Comes the Sun. And yeah, it's just a wonderful song. And this is one of two Beatles. This is one of the few Beatles songs to use a synthesizer. forgot to mention Maxwell Silverhammer uses a synthesizer, and so does this song. So yeah, this is the only Beatles album that has synthesizers used on it. And track 8 is Because. This is another John song. And this one has some nice harmonies on it. It's harmonies between John, Paul and George. Ringo's not on this one though, because there's no drums on this song. But yeah, I love the yeah, I love the synthesizer on here. And yeah, it's got some nice lyrics. I think this is an underrated Beatles song. Like the harmonies are just so they give me goosebumps. And that keyboard thing that it opens with, I'm not quite sure what that instrument is, but I like it though. It's brilliant sound. And then track 9, this is the beginning of the medley. You Never Give Me Your Money. So this is a Paul McCartney song. And yeah, this is him having a go at the music industry, basically, for not giving him the money that he rightly earned through making music. And yeah, a lot of these tracks on here are basically, the ones from here on are basically like very short songs. They're basically like songs that were never finished. I think they were recorded for the Let It Be sessions, but they were unfinished. So they had the idea of putting a medley together by, connecting all these songs together and then to make a medley, and it worked. They did such a good job of it. And then that goes into Sun King, it's a John Lennon song. And yeah, this is a really beautiful song. It's got some very slow guitar. And then after that, the harmonies come in. It's very haunting and just beautiful. And John does some, I think it's Spanish language. Yeah, he actually sings in Spanish on this one. Yeah, and there's some nice use of the organ on here as well. It's very like psychedelic, even though at this stage they were kind of past the psychedelic era, but there's still a little bit of psychedelia here though. But yeah, it's a great little song. And then track 11 is another John song, Mean Mr. Mustard. And yeah, it's another basically a comedy song. It's basically about an old man called Mr. Mustard who's like basically just miserable and mean to everyone. Basically like a kid's song really. It's just fun. It's good fun. And then track 12 is another John song. This is Polythene Pam. And apparently there's a rumour that Polythene Pam is Me Mr. Mustard's sister, because there's a lyric in Me Mr. Mustard where it mentions he has a sister called Pam. So apparently she's Me Mr. Mustard's sister. But yeah, this is a fun track as well. And track 13 is the Paul McCartney song, She Came In Through the Bathroom Window. And this is actually this is a true story. This woman actually she went into Paul McCartney's house. She actually climbed in through his bathroom window. But yeah, it's a good rocking song. And then track 14 is beautiful Golden Slumbers. And this is a standard song, but the Beatles did, there've been like loads of other versions of it, but the Beatles, their version is the best. Let's be honest. I just love how Paul sings it. He starts off with that beautiful slow piano and Paul's soft vocals, and then the brass instruments come in, and then his voice gets more rough sounding. Just brilliant. And then that goes into Carry That Weight. And yeah, this is brilliant. You got, I think it's mostly Paul and George. Yeah, they harmonise on this one. Paul sings the lead vocals, but the harmonies are are George and Paul. Yeah, 'cause through most, I think on this one, John wasn't actually present when they recorded this. I think he was absent for some of the sessions because he was in a motorbike accident, so he was absent for some of the recordings of this album. And yeah, this was one of the ones that he wasn't on. But yeah, I like this song, and some of the lyrics on this song it's kind of like references to "You Never Give Me Your Money." And then that goes into the end. Now this is brilliant. It's got such a hard guitar riff, and I love Paul's screaming vocals. And this has a drum solo on it. Well, this is the only Beatles song to have a drum solo. And apparently Ringo wasn't actually sure about doing this, but he nailed it. This is why I think Ringo, he gets overlooked as a drummer. You know, listen to some of those fills that he did on A Day in the Life and on Rain, which was the B-side of the Paperback Writer single. And yeah, this is fantastic. This shows that Ringo is a brilliant drummer, and I think he deserves more respect as a drummer. And yeah, this was originally, it's supposed to be the final track on the album. And yeah, it ends with the lyric, "In the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make." Brilliant way to end, because this was the last album the Beatles recorded, so this is a brilliant album for them to go out on. But of course, this wasn't the final track, because we get one final track after this, Her Majesty, which is actually a hidden bonus track. Now, this wasn't actually intended to be on the album. It ended up on the album by accident. Basically, when George Martin was mixing this album, they didn't realise that they'd accidentally left Her Majesty on the end of the tape. So yeah, it accidentally ended up on the end of the album. So that's why on earlier pressings of this album, the song Her Majesty is not listed on the back. But on like re-releases of the album, on like represses, they've listed it on the back. But on like first pressings, it wasn't listed. It was on the record, but it wasn't listed on the record sleeve. It's listed on the CD as well. But yeah, it's a nice song. It's only just a few seconds long, but it's a nice acoustic by Paul McCartney. And yeah, I think it's a nice hidden track. So yeah, I think I've heard other people on YouTube who are older Beatles fans, like Beatles fans who were around when this album came out. I believe it's Canadian Stud Muffin. He's a YouTube channel that I watch, and he's a huge Beatles fan. And he, in one of his videos, he talked about Abbey Road, where when he bought the album back in 1969, because of course on his version he bought a first pressing of the album which didn't have Her Majesty listed on the back. So after the end, he mentioned that, you know, that was the end of the album, but the needle wasn't coming off the record, so he turned the volume up, and then that chord from the beginning of Her Majesty, boom, he said it. He jokingly said that it gave him his first heart attack. But yeah, but the first time I heard this album was, it wasn't this exact CD copy, but it was a CD that I owned, or that I heard, and I saw it listed on the back, so I knew it was on there anyway. But yeah, Abbey Road is just, it's a masterpiece. This is a brilliant, brilliant album. Such an iconic cover as well. You know, the Fab Four just walking across the zebra crossing. I've walked across that zebra crossing when I was in London. And yeah, people make a joke, because there you can see a Volkswagen Beetle there. Some people jokingly, they've been like internet memes saying there's arrows pointing to it, saying it's the fifth Beetle. Yeah, but Abbey Road is a brilliant album. It's a masterpiece, and such a great album for such a great band to end their career, even though this wasn't the last album they released. But yeah, I'm giving this a 10 out of 10. It's perfect. Like, I wouldn't change a single thing about this album. This is absolutely perfect. So I hope you enjoyed that review, and my next review will be on Let It Be, the last album. So the next one will be my last Beatles review. And then I'll be doing another band after that. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that review, and I'll see you soon.